Bueno, esta pequeña sorpresa protagonizada por Antonio y Pilar, campeón y subcampeonas de oratoria mundial, ha sido el regalo que No Square quería hacer a Theodore Zeldin como guiño a su libro Conversación. Theodore Zeldin, con su nuevo libro, también ha estado entre los finalistas de este decálogo que hoy se ha presentado aquí, y la verdad es que gracias a los esfuerzos de No Square y de Plataforma Editorial podemos tenerle con nosotros hoy. Theodore Zeldin nace en Palestina bajo mandato británico, es profesor y antiguo decano de St. Anthony College de Oxford. Ha tenido un gran reconocimiento internacional y medios como el Independent on Sunday le ha considerado una de las 40 figuras mundiales cuyas ideas probablemente tendrán una influencia perdurable en el nuevo milenio. Por su parte, Magazine Littéraire le considera uno de los 100 pensadores más importantes del mundo. Ostenta la Orden del Imperio Británico y la Legión de Honor francesa como uno de los grandes especialistas en la historia de Francia y el pensamiento galo, miembro del BBC Brain Trust y de la British Academy y la Academia Europa. Zeldin es un docente que ha estado dando clases por muchísimas universidades del mundo, entre ellas Harvard, y además ha asesorado a organismos e instituciones académicas de gran prestigio. Mr. Zeldin, it's such an honor to have you here tonight with us. We would like to invite you on stage to share with us some of your insights. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you for inviting me, and congratulations to the jury for choosing Peter Thiel. He's a very intelligent man, and what he says is moving and instructive, but he has founded PayPal and has helped to found Facebook, and you are probably not likely to do the same, even after reading his book. And the question, therefore, is, what can one add to him? How can one make it practical for each person? And this is one of the things that has interested me. And I want to suggest to you that if you want to do better than Peter Thiel, you have to have a new philosophy of business. Business at the moment is about buying and selling and giving services and manufacturing and so on. And I suggest to you that we have problems with this now, and we have crises in business all the time, and we have stress and difficulties and recessions. And so we have to think, what else can we do? What else can business do which it has not yet done? And this is the theme of my writing. And I think that we have to look once again at the word business. Busyness. In other words, what to do with your time. And business is really not about selling things. It is about buying and selling time, which means what shall we do with our lives? And business so far has not given an answer, has not developed a philosophy of its own, because the history of business is that previously merchants were excluded from the big society of the warriors, the soldiers, the priests, the landlords, and gradually they made their way, but they aimed to become like landlords and successful people. They became wealthy, and but they have not made everybody wealthy. And now we are told that 26 people in the world have more wealth than half the world's population, and this has produced great stress. And in today's Financial Times, you'll find an article saying how the elites have produced the populist movements in many different countries which want to protest and don't know what to do with themselves. So there is a crisis, and there is also a crisis in every occupation. Doctors, the most revered profession, are going on strike, and even marching in the streets in different countries. Just a few days ago, the Lord Chief Justice, which interests you, the Lord Chief Justice of England said that 77% of the judges of the United Kingdom believed that they were not properly appreciated, they were not understood, and they were not able to do their job properly. Can you think of any profession where people feel that they can do their job properly, where they're not burdened with duties which they don't want to do, where they're not supervised in ways which force them to do their work more quickly, where there's more stress? We're doing everything faster. And the remedy of business so far, and all these theoreticians who have written about it, is be more efficient, work harder, harder and harder and quicker. And the more you become a manager and important, the harder you work. And the only solution that has been produced is reduce the hours of work for those who are able to, and allow them to have leisure. Now, what is work for? Is it to have leisure? Or are there good kinds of work and bad kinds of work? And this is what I would like to start doing. Why I have come here is to encourage you to think about this, not to tell you, not to persuade you to do anything, but to discover from you what you think. And I am telling you what I think only in order to provoke you to say what you think. But we don't know what you think. People live behind masks. It is dangerous to say what one thinks, even in a free society, let alone all those successful societies. And my work, and I've established in Oxford a program called The Future of Work, which means how can we plan for each occupation a different ambition. And the reason why we have to do this comes from an understanding of human experience in the past. So whereas these authors have mainly told you what emerges from their experience in the present, in the last few years, I wanted to say to you what is the experience of the whole of humanity from the beginning to the end. And the first one is that every time the population of the world has increased, has exploded, and it has happened at different times in history, we have invented new kinds of work. And when there was not enough food for people in the forests, we invented agriculture. And then when there were too many people there, we invented industry. Then we invented government employment. Then we invented services. And now there are 1 billion young people in the world, new young people in the world, who have no job or cannot find a job suited to their talents and their education. And so we have to invent a new kind of work. And that is what seems to me to be the agenda of our time. So how do we do this? I think the first thing is to see that we need to look at the past to see that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. Because each of those kinds of work has got difficulties in it, which we wish to avoid. But the thing about being modern is that you say, we can do better than the past. Let us forget about the past. And the result is that we keep on making the same mistakes. And the best example is that we're still fighting wars. We're dropping bombs on people all over the world, and we haven't stopped fighting. In other words, we are still primitive. And how can we get out of this? I suggest that our attempts to do it by purely political means has not been successful. Liberty, equality, fraternity have not produced the results we hoped for. Liberty is very good that you can say what you like in some places, but what about what happens when nobody listens? And most of you feel that nobody listens to you. And I recall a conversation I had with one of the most senior ayatollahs in Iran. And we met for an hour, and he shouted at me for 1 hour, very angrily, why the Americans are so terrible, why the British are so terrible, why the West is no good, and so on. And then suddenly he stopped, and he smiled, and he embraced me, and he said, I want to come again. And I said, why? And he said, because you listened to me. And how do you do this? Equality, likewise, is a wonderful idea that we all have equal rights and a vote. But we are not equal, you know. Some people are more beautiful than others. Some people can see with glasses and some without glasses. Some people can't hear, you know. But how can, and some people are less kind than others. How can we deal with that? Not by law, but by affection. So what people want from liberty is to be understood and appreciated. What they want from equality is to have affection for their faults to be forgiven. And what they want from fraternity is to be encouraged as individuals, not simply given a pension, but told that they are fully alive. And I feel that many people now are only 50% alive, 20% alive. And what does it mean, therefore, to be alive? I give you my opinion. To be alive is not only what it has been so far, which is to reproduce life and to make the purpose of life is life, to continue life, but it is also to discover what is life. And that means getting to know each person. Because the originality of our time is that we have discovered that each person is different, and also that we cannot understand other people easily, and it needs a lot of conversation with them and a lot of trust in order to discover what a person really is behind the mask. And so what I am come to do is to invite you to tell me who you are. And instead of just reading books, though I'm all in favor of reading books, you should write your own book. And you should tell us who you are. And the book doesn't have to be more than a few pages, but all of you have a book inside you. And what we must do is to encourage you to write a book or a few pages to say who you are. And that is your passport, your real passport, not the passport which the government gives you, which says you have blue eyes, but a passport which says what you think and what your ideas about the future are. And so rather than just being told by Thiel that we have to be very unconventional and follow our own path and so on, we cannot have ideas about what to do unless we know what everybody else wants to do. And I see therefore business as being the crucial place where we can discover what people think, because that is where people meet. Workers meet each other, workers meet customers. At the moment, the system is not working well because Facebook and Google and all the rest of them try to steal information about you without your knowing. And it may not be the correct information. Just because you bought a pair of shoes, it doesn't mean that you want to buy shoes for the rest of your life. So we want to know about your whole personality. And I would really think my visit to this city would be worth the while if you start this. Because one of the amazing things about Spain is that it has had a history of enormous achievements, and then collapses, and then revivals, and great energy. And perhaps now you feel a bit low, but I think you could be high again at some other time. And I don't think you advertise yourself sufficiently. That people don't realize how much energy there is in this country and what amazing thoughts and amazing achievements have been made in different branches of activity, in many different branches of activity. So I'm only being given 20 minutes to talk, and I mustn't exceed that. So what I just want to say to you is, I met, where is she? She's gone. There she is. So I met I'm your hostess, and we agreed, right, that we're going to do something about this. And I hope others of you will join us, which is we're going to start meeting and helping people to tell each other what they think about important questions. And I have done this in 12 different countries. And you just put two people together who have never met, and you give them a list of questions to talk about, and they immediately open up, and they talk honestly, and it is extraordinary. And they talk for 2 hours, and sometimes they have talked for 7 hours, and they cannot stop talking because somebody is listening to them. Everybody wants to talk about themselves. But if we make them talk about things which are important, how can one construct one's life despite the difficulties? Then the result will be that business will have something to say, not just to you in the present situation, but to your children and grandchildren, because the children and grandchildren are now saying, I do not want to be like my father or my mother, I want to do something different. What can they do? And if in your own occupations, in each of your occupations, you admit that there is much to be changed, that people are refusing to become so stressed and having to work so hard and doing so many stupid things which make them even more stupid. If instead of that you can start in each of your occupations, each of your professional organizations, a research and development program, a little experiment to see what else you can do. Instead of preaching, this is the solution, you have to experiment and see, and you will make mistakes. But from the mistakes you will learn new things. And I think every business, every occupation, every profession needs to work out how it can attract the next generation, because the next generation is now educated and it has higher aspirations and it wants something different, but it doesn't know how to do it. And this is true of every country. And it is not only something, what I'm suggesting is not something which is particularly European, because the Chinese have a terrific tradition of conversation, which they call pure conversation, which meant getting to know people as individuals, not as stereotypes, not because they belong to this or that religion, but talking about their small things as well as big things. And this goes back many centuries. Of course, governments sometimes stop people talking, but I haven't time to develop what I am saying. I just want to tell you that you have freedom. Freedom is not only about the ability to speak or to be listened to, it is also freedom from fear. That is the biggest thing which stops people. Freedom from ignorance, freedom from jealousy. We have many more things to acquire in freedom. And this is what we should be doing in order that the next generation can feel that life is worth living. I better stop, and thank you for inviting me, and I would like to find out whether any of you will pay attention to what I have said.